This is Football Night in America, built by Lowe's.
Welcome to the Football Night in America podcast presented by Lowe's. Maria Taylor alongside Matthew Berry, Mike Florio, Devin McCourty, and Jason Garrett here with you. I can't believe it's already week 17, guys. I feel like the season is certainly flying by, but a lot of games that we had with some playoff implications and opportunities ultimately blown. Let's start with the Steelers. All they had to do was get a win against the Browns on the road. Aaron Rodgers and this offense couldn't pull it off. Was it a bad game by Pitt? Great defensive game by the Browns. What are you going with, Florio?
Well, I think it was.
Can I guess?
Yeah. No, well, it was a bad game from the Steelers at a time when they had put together three very impressive performances. And I think what made it more stunning was last week was their best game of the year against the Lions. They looked incredible. They looked balanced. They looked focused. And I don't know what happened this week. You throw in the Christmas holiday. That creates distractions. You have to maneuver around. They don't have DK Metcalf. They might have been thinking all week long, the Ravens are going to lose to the Packers. These last two games are going to be meaningless to us. And then all of a sudden they got to refocus and reconfigure and take the Browns seriously. They were taking the Browns seriously. At least Mike Tomlin, the head coach, acted like they were. It just, they could get nothing going offensively. Their defense, defense did all right, but the offense couldn't do anything. And I feel like they recover from these blips, but the whole season's riding on whether or not they can recover from it in a week.
Right.
I think they're a little fortunate on the standpoint of when your best player is gone and their offense is kind of built around DK Metcalf. They're going to run the ball, but if you stack the box, then he says, you know what, I'm throwing outside to DK Metcalf. So everything kind of is dictated off Metcalf. Rodgers comes out, as he's singled, I can throw it over there. So when you lose that, you got to come up with a game plan. You got to think what Cleveland's going to do, wonder. Now you get a game without him. You see what went well, you see what didn't. Now you come back the next week and you say, hey, this didn't work. We thought it might work, it didn't. We don't need to go to certain guys in one-on-one matchups. Maybe we need to do this. So now you go into the last game, the biggest game of the year, and I think you have some answers. Now you just have to go execute it.
Yeah, no doubt. The plan against Cleveland, I don't think was their best, and Cleveland's really good on defense. And I think as that game wore on, there were some matchups that favored Cleveland over Pittsburgh. And now, what do you do when you reset? For me, it's you just got to help the receivers. You got to move them around. You got to stack them up. You got to use motion just to get the defenders off of them a little bit and give them a little bit of space. You've been talking about the running backs, feature the running backs a little bit more, both in the running game and the passing game. But, Baltimore has played well on defense recently, so it'll be a good challenge for them on that side. And when you flip it around, Baltimore on offense against Pittsburgh on defense, they've had a lot of success running the football with big Derrick Henry, number 22. I anticipate Baltimore handing him the ball a lot, so that's a big challenge for them as well.
Yeah, I mean, Coach, just to expand upon what you were just saying in terms of the game plan, I thought it was crazy. Like, they ran the ball effectively, despite the fact they didn't have DK Metcalf, despite the fact that the Browns knew, hey, you guys are probably going to run. 24 rushes, 131 yards. They averaged 5.5 yards per carry, and yet Aaron Rodgers threw the ball 39 times. Why is Aaron Rodgers, in a game in which they have no DK Metcalf, throwing the ball almost 40 times, by the way? I mean, the defense played well. They get 2 picks on Shedeur Sanders. And I think this game really highlights kind of the limitations of this Steelers roster. Right? We can sit here and blame Rodgers or the play calling or the head coaching and everything like that, but I think this somewhat is on the front office. We showed a graphic earlier in terms of sort of the receiving leaders. Marquez Valdes-Scantling got 9 targets in this game. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, in a game in which they need Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who's on his 6th NFL team and his 2nd team this year. He started with the Saints this year. And he's getting 9 targets. Adam Thielen, who was sitting on his couch a few weeks ago, got 5 targets in this game. What are you, Scotty Miller, who's a camp story? I mean, it's just, and they have the 3 tight ends as well. I just feel like this game just showed, what a mistake it was to get rid of George Pickens or not address that when they did in the offseason.
Let me address your point. The reason that Marquez Valdes-Scantling was targeted as much as he was is because that's a guy Aaron Rodgers trusts. And when you take DK Metcalf out of the equation, he's going to fall back to the guys he trusts. That's why MVS is there. But does he have the skill set to go get the football one-on-one? I mean, and let me just
three for 21 on 9 targets.
No,
3 for 21.
It was ridiculous in the result, especially when they're down at the goal line and they're acting like DK Metcalf was there. And I know that DK Metcalf is responsible for his own behavior, and he deserved the 2-game suspension. People around the league think he should have been suspended more than 2 games. I mean, Dre Greenlaw got suspended 2 games for yelling at an official after a game, and DK Metcalf gets suspended 2 games for pulling a fan's shirt down and punching out of it. But it's on the Steelers, too. They could have kept him away from that wall. We talked about it on PFT Live this week. So they got what they deserved, he got what he deserved, and they acted like he was there today, and that was a mistake.
And remember, Darnell Washington went out in this game too, and that happened during the first quarter, and obviously the effects were not good for the Steelers. But either way it goes, winner take all, AFC North showdown in Week 18. It's going to be a good one, so looking forward to that. The Eagles, they got a win in Orchard Park against the Bills, and it came down to the very last play, Matthew. What was your biggest takeaway from this Eagles win?
You know what? They keep finding a way to win. There is a zillion different reasons why they should have lost this ball. The offense completely disappeared in the second half. You know, in the second half, they got 0 first downs in the second half, right? The Bills had an opportunity to score a touchdown early on. Josh Allen gets stopped short on a 4th and goal from the 3. You know, they block an extra point. They had a wide open guy. The Bills had a wide open guy at the end of the game for a 2-point conversion. But give the Eagles credit. They found a way to win. And they keep doing this, right? In a game in which I know Philadelphia Sports Radio is going to talk about how bad the offense looked in the second half. But my takeaway is, again, like, they just kept finding ways. In a game in which their offense got completely shut down by the Bills in the second half, on the road, in the rain, they still managed to find a way to win. And as long as that defense keeps playing the way it does, and man, what a difference Jalen Carter makes, right? Getting that guy back. As long as that defense keeps playing the way it is, Coach, I think you said this on football night, which is they are going to be a very tough out in the NFC playoffs.
The problem is when you don't have an offense that can play 60 minutes, when it's going to slip into a coma for half of the game, that's going to get you beat in the postseason. Jalen Hurts was 0 for 7. -2 team passing yards in the second half. And Nick Sirianni told Sal Paolantonio after the game that he regrets not stepping in to help with play calling. It's the first time he's ever admitted that, and he says he's going to do it in the future. So they know it's getting down to what someone I know would call nut-cutting time. And it may be time to cut bait on what they've been doing and make some changes, or they're not going to last long in the playoffs. You go to sleep for 30 minutes on offense in a playoff game, and you're done.
Yeah, they were in Buffalo in December. That is a tough place to play. Devin, you know.
It is, but I've never played on a team with Tom Brady who went 0 for 7 in the second half and we didn't complete a pass. I think Philadelphia, I get worried sometimes. How much do they believe that they can continue to win? Because for Sirianni, even if you felt that way, did you really need to tell Sal Powell, hey, I should have came? I'm just saying, hey, let's get back in the meeting room Monday. Let's talk about it. Maybe I will step in next week. But, once you say that, it creates a whole new story now. I'm not a fan of that right there. But, again, yes, they won, but they're in the NFC. So, Chicago, San Francisco, the Rams, Seattle, those teams – they're going to have to play. It's going to be hard to beat those teams if you just turn it off for a half. But again, that defense, Jalen Carter, the way they play, they'll stay in the game. But if we're honest right there, Josh Allen misses an easy throw, and Buffalo could have walked away winning a game that they really played pretty bad throughout the whole game other than their defense in the second half.
Yeah, a lot of stuff to attack there. You said it. I mean, Josh Allen never misses that throw. I mean, he was wide open. They got exactly what they wanted. They're going to win the game with that 2-point conversion. I can understand why Sirianni, does that and says that, because Philadelphia, I mean, the talk radio, it's not real volatile there. I mean, it's kind of a quiet.
Super calm.
I don't know if you guys remember this, but we did the game there at some point this season, maybe when they played Detroit. And I don't know what their record was at the time. Maybe they were 6-1 or so. And I'm walking through the tunnel, and one of the security guys comes up to me and says, Coach, this is going to be bad now. This is going to be bad. All this stuff that's going on off the field, it's going to be bad. And, they're going to lose tonight. They're going to lose the rest of their games. And I'm thinking to myself, they had won 23 out of their last 26 games. It's hard to do. And the faithful in Philadelphia, they don't have a lot of patience for all that stuff. And I agree with you. You probably should keep that stuff in-house.
Although, Coach, can I ask you a question? I hear just generally you want to keep it in-house, but But is Sirianni playing chess when we're playing checkers, meaning that by now the story becomes, is Sirianni taking over the play calling? And now people aren't going to be talking about Jalen Hurts 0 for 7, and is he a franchise quarterback, and can he lead him back to the Super Bowl? Is he taking the pressure off of his players and now putting on the play call and letting him deal with that?
Yeah, I'm for checkers when it comes to media.
All right, fair enough. Just wanted to ask the question.
Just play straight.
I think
we want to play checkers.
they've got the bandwidth to talk about all of it. In Philly, they will talk about all of it. It'll be about Sirianni, it'll be about Kevin Petullo, it'll be about Jalen Hurts, about everything.
Like I said, they've won 23 out of 26, and they're talking about all the bad stuff. So this kind of stuff.
Hey, on Josh Allen,
let me just say this about Philadelphia. We said it before the game. They can be a really scary team, right? They've certainly been up and down. They had a bad stretch in the middle of the year, but both offensively and defensively, if they get going, they have the pieces, and you can see them making a run. Now, I agree with your point. If they have a half where the quarterback goes 0 for 7 and they kind of limp around and start looking at each other, that's a different deal. But if they turn it on, in all three phases of their team, they're as good as anybody in the league. No doubt.
I was going to say about Josh Allen, the throw at the end, and we don't know what affected it. It was a bad throw, maybe. Maybe the foot's bothering him. He's been so stubborn about the foot injury. You could tell last week when he talked to reporters after the game. Did it affect you in the second half? No, I don't think so. It's affected him all week, and it affected him today. And he got an X-ray on it, and it was negative, and he's sore. And I just wonder if, you just take that little piece away from a guy who moves so well most of the time and is so effective. You wonder, is he going to be 100% when the playoffs roll around, and is that going to make a significant difference for the Bills? I
will just say this on Josh Allen again. So we talk about kind of rosters and Josh Allen just sometimes feels like he's out there by himself. James Cook's having an unbelievable year, but think about Josh Allen on Philadelphia's roster with that offensive line and some of those guys on that team. The 2 rushing touchdowns, he's brilliant in the second half. The bad miss on the 2-point conversion, but it just feels like a lot of times you're out there watching him. They put up over 350 total yards in offense in this game, the Bills did. It doesn't show it on the scoreboard, but yeah. I don't know. It just feels like a lot of times it's just he has to do it by himself.
Yeah, put the S on his chest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in a year where there's no Chiefs and also Joe Burrow's out of it, you were really hoping that Josh Allen and the Bills would have a great chance. But right now they're sitting at the 7th seed, and they have their playoff berth. They'll have their opportunity. Still an opportunity up. For anyone, whoever wants to win the NFC South can please come to the front and just let us know that you would like to do that. Both the Panthers and the Buccaneers lose. Obviously, the Buccaneers loss stings a little bit more, Jason, going on the road in Miami with the big opportunity to get a victory there against the Dolphins.
Yeah, I didn't anticipate Carolina beating Seattle. I think Seattle's a really good team. They're really good on the road. So I thought that was going to be a tough game for them. But for Tampa Bay to go to Miami and have Miami literally out-physical them in this game. Miami ran the ball. Miami stopped the run, and they took the ball away 3 times. So obviously the win is the most important thing, but how Miami won this game over Tampa when so much was riding on the line for Tampa was shocking, but we shouldn't be shocked. They've lost 7 out of their last 8 games. And amazingly, they still have a chance to win the division next week. So I'm hopeful for their team. I love their quarterback. I love their coach. I'd love to see their defense kind of rise up and start playing a little bit better, and some of those playmakers on offense start to show up a little bit more. But who knows? They haven't done it the last couple months.
Yeah, when you break down their whole season, early in the season, it was these great come-from-behind victories. And you look back and you're like, man, that was a high-scoring game there. So it seems like their team that's finally caught up with them. And I agree. I think they came into the game, I think what we expected was, all right, Tampa's going to stop the run. They're going to smash the ball. They're going to run the ball. It's going to open up some of these guys down the field. Baker Mayfield threw the ball 44 times today. Just not enough in the run game, not running Bucky Irvin and Tucker and White and those guys, trying to play from ahead. When you play these games, you're going to play a team that's done. It's all about let's score, let's get a turnover, let's get a 3-and-out, score again, and make sure these guys know that they're here to lose and for us to keep advancing our season. They didn't do that. They gave Miami life, and Miami walked away with a victory.
I go back to that Thursday night game when they had the 50th anniversary celebration. They're up 14 points against your Falcons in the 4th quarter, and it fell apart.
She dropped the Falcons.
And I feel I think she's still in it. She reserves the right to jump back in just like
Thank
I
you
did with
so
the
much.
Vikings.
Keep it a toe in.
Exactly.
But something happened then. That was the post-game press conference where Todd Bowles had more bleeps than the lyrics from our TikTok dance videos. I mean, it was nonstop bleep, 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 bleep. And it didn't work. Yeah. It didn't help. They haven't gotten any better, so something fundamentally is wrong. I think on top of that, Baker Mayfield is banged up and will never admit it, and that's affected his play. And I look at whoever wins this division. They're going to go into the playoffs with a clean slate. They're going to have that talking point. Nobody believes in us, and it's going to be real. It's not going to be made up like your guy Tom Brady used to do when they were favored. Oh, nobody believes in us. Everybody believes in you, Tom. Shut up. But nobody's going to believe in the Panthers or the Buccaneers. Well, I'm just
escalating.
Yeah, maybe.
Angry at Tom.
Or a Raiders fan, and look at what they've done under his ownership. But no, I think that there's going to be a certain
You got
freedom.
a lot of stuff going on right now.
There's going to be a certain freedom.
A lot to unpack there.
There's going to be a certain freedom to whoever wins that division. That's my point. No one's going to expect you to win, and there's something to be said about being loose in that wild card round. I remember 2008, the Cardinals won the NFC West, and everyone said this is the worst team to ever make the playoffs, and they made it to the Super Bowl and almost won it. I just think I'm hoping whoever wins that division is going to catch fire because they're going to have no expectations going into the postseason.
Yeah, like Seahawks, the Marshawn Lynch Seahawks, beast mode run. They sneaked into the playoffs. They went to the Saints. No one thought they had a chance, and they ended up winning that one. The winner of this division at least will host a playoff game here. The question is which team is more equipped to make a run in the playoffs, and I have to say the Buccaneers just because they've been there before, because they have Baker Mayfield, they have Mike Evans, they have some veteran leadership on that team. But just to play devil's advocate, since we've talked a lot about the Buccaneers, I'll just talk a little bit about Carolina. I mean, Carolina scored 10 points against the Seahawks. And you're like, well, that ain't that great. But the Seahawks are an elite defense. Meanwhile, the Buccaneers, with a minute to go in the game, also had 10 points against Miami. The Carolina Panthers have, again, you're grading on a curve here, but relative to the Buccaneers, the Carolina Panthers can run the ball and play decent defense. Right now, again, and Canales has done a really nice job with that team. And so, do I think the Buccaneers have the better chance to go further in the playoffs? I do, but I'm just saying, people have been doubting the Carolina Panthers every single week. And, look, they won a home game against the Rams. On the right day, they can play with anyone.
Mm-hmm. They got to go on the road, though, and take on Tampa Bay.
Yes.
And just to break down all the scenarios that exist in the NFC South, let's get it over to Steve Kornacki.
Yeah, Tampa would have been eliminated if Carolina had found a way to win that game. Instead, Carolina at Tampa. Winner takes the NFC South. Loser is done. Probably, and I say probably because the Falcons, they're not back in the playoff mix. They've been eliminated, but look at this. The Falcons at 6-9, if they could beat the Rams, huge if, and if they could beat the Saints, they could get to 8-9. If the Bucs win next week, they'd be 8-9. Carolina would be 8-9, three-way tie. It's the head-to-head record among all three that would decide it. Carolina and Tampa would have split. Tampa and Atlanta would have split. Carolina would have a sweep on Atlanta at 8-9. They would have the tiebreaker. They'd win the division. Meanwhile, Seattle, by beating Carolina, they retain that path to the top seed in the NFC. All they got to do is win next week against the Niners. Number one seed is Seattle. The stakes for tonight, they are enormous. This is an elimination game. The loser cannot get the one seed in the NFC. But if San Francisco wins tonight, they control a path to the top seed. All they'd have to do is beat Seattle week 18. Then the NFC playoffs would go through Santa Clara. If they lose, they're a wild card team. They're going on the road. Chicago, meanwhile, they can get the one seed by winning tonight, beating the Lions, and then they would need San Fran to knock off Seattle next week. Rams, they're on the periphery, easy schedule. They need a ton of help. All these teams have to lose for the Rams to get the top seed.
All right, appreciate it, Steve. Now it's time for us to earn our Sunday presented by Lowe's, and we wanted to do a little New Year's resolution style for some teams that they need to change some things about the way that they're living their lives. Let's start with the Cardinals, and the New Year's resolution for them in 2026 would be what, Barry?
Well, there's a lot, but find a quarterback to help with the offense. Look, Jacoby Brissett's had a nice year, but he's not the long-term answer there. Mike Florio broke the news earlier this year that the Cardinals might be looking to move on from Kyler Murray in the offseason, which I think they will. So they need to figure out this offense, and especially with a quarterback. It doesn't make sense why Marvin Harrison Jr. hasn't been unlocked when we see guys like Michael Wilson produce in this offense.
Okay, who's?
Yeah, no, I agree.
You're the Raiders.
Okay. Okay. For the Raiders, and I already took a shot at your guy Tom, so I I probably should go ahead and take another one. He needs to get all in or all out of the Raiders. This drive-by absentee landlord, Mark Davis, sold him a piece of the team at a below-market rate with the expectation that he's going to go in there and be the guy that stabilizes the organization. How can you do that when you have a full-time job in football season and you can go to like 2 games out of the whole year? And then he's going to show up in the offseason, he's going to have a bunch of ideas, and he's going to tell them what to do, and then he's going to disappear again. It can't work that way. He's either got to be fully committed to the cause, or he's just got to say, I'm going to be a glorified fan, and I'm not going to be involved in this at all. I think this partial influence, and it's kind of a cloud that hovers over the coaching staff because he's calling up the head coach and the offensive coordinator during the season. He's got to go all in or all out.
There's nothing wrong with a New Year's resolution of I want more Tom Brady. That's basically what you said. Like,
Either more or none.
You want more Tom Brady. There's
more
nothing,
or none.
There's a lot of people who feel that way. So you just get in line. I got JK's New York Jets. The Jets need to figure out how can this team be more like the one phase that shined this year, their special teams unit. And I think for them, where does that start? Wherever they end up in the draft, I think they need to all sit down and say, okay, how do we use this to the best of our ability? Is that trading up and getting a quarterback that they love? Is that trading back and getting more draft picks? Like, they need to have a plan to go forward, not, hey, Aaron Glenn's trying to save his job, so he does whatever. They need to have a plan that is set into, we're going to be this type of team for the next 5 years, and they got to stick with this coach, let them coach, let them figure it out, and not move on to something new so they continue this cycle.
Agree. Across town with the Giants, 2 things. One's very serious. The healing powers for John Mara, their owner, one of the great guys I've ever met in football, just a fantastic person. Certainly hope he gets better. And for their team, I just think they need a veteran head coach, an experienced guy who's done it before. They've tried guys who haven't done it before in their recent hirings, and they just haven't had that vision you're talking about. Bring someone in there who's experienced, who's done it before. This is the vision for the team. This is what we want the team to look like. This is what we want the players to look like. This is how we go about getting them. Clean up the salary cap. Just have a vision. And you certainly want to turn it around. We've seen examples this year of teams that have turned around. But to me, those are the exceptions. You want to win as quickly as you can, but you want to do it the right way. An experienced guy who understands what the vision is and the steps you need to take and the discipline you need to have to put that in place. That's what the New York Football Giants need.
Do you have a New Year's resolution for the Football Night in America team?
Just continue to follow your leadership.
Oh, that's a good one. That's absolutely perfect. Don't say anything, Devin.
More TikToks.
Yes.
More TikToks.
You haven't seen
No
the
one
TikTok.
agreed with JG on that.
It was conspicuous.
No one said anything.
Just know that these guys hit the Soldier Boy in like 2 attempts or 2 tries, so it's very impressive. We don't know where we're going to be next week, but hopefully by the time you watch this, you will know, and you'll join us regardless for Football Night in America at 7 Eastern. We'll see you there for Week 18.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.